Yeah, there's some others which are much more complex than that. I think for us there's a couple of interesting ones. One of the ones that I always mention is that Swapsee is not just a marketplace. It's got a personal networking environment as well. You can actually build your own personal network that consists of people you work with and people you trust. And we realize that on one hand it means it's another personal network, but what we do see is that actually quite a lot of people quite like the opportunity to start from scratch with people that they can trust. Because I said to your Facebook friends, I know your friends, you've got something similar for LinkedIn, whereas, I'm someone, I've got 1,500 LinkedIn connections. How many of those would I actually recommend? It's probably about 5-10%. I quite like the fact that on Swapsee I've got my own little network. Those are people that I know I can recommend. A very typical example why that is useful is given by one of our members who runs a very small graphic design outfit. Let's say 4 people. 4 people is one of those company sizes which is particularly hard, because on one hand we've got the whole cycle where you either have too much work or you don't have enough work when your fixed costs are hitting you. But from a commercial point of view, it's also something that if you go and bid for assignments with big companies, they basically say no, because you're too small, you cannot deal with large quantities, large volumes of work. What we see is this particular member, he actually built on his Swapsee network other designers that he's worked with in the past, that he does not have on his own payroll, but that he actually has in his personal network, people that he trusts, he's worked with, or that people that he trusts have recommended to him. He actually bid for a big project at one of the big companies, like really blue chip multinational. Basically says, yes, I know him for people, but look, I've got these 15 other designers that I've got access to through this platform Swapsee, and he got a 1.5 million euro job out of it. So that's like on the personal networking side. It does provide validity to a freelancer or to a small company to actually show that you've got a bigger network, but not just of random people, because everybody can say, like, on LinkedIn I've got 1,500 designers. But these are people that actually come recommended and that he knows. There's quite a number of other examples which are much more straightforward. People have swapped services, people have put on jobs. I think the biggest job that was on there was a 25,000 euro job for someone who needed something very specific, found a job. There's someone who put on 3 requirements for people. He needed to write blogs for his website. He puts on 3 job posts. Per job post he got about 24, 25, 26 responses from people who wanted to do it. So it is actually quite an easy way already, even though we think the number of members are actually still pretty low. But you actually put a job and you do get a lot of responses of people that in general are very high quality. For those jobs he chose 1 because he needed 1. But out of all those responses he's put another 9 or 10 in his network, and he's posted quite a lot of them already, other blog posts directly. So it is a fairly efficient way, I would even say a very efficient way, to actually get access to a large group of people that otherwise would not necessarily have access to. At the same time, we're still in the phase where if people put up jobs, we've got a team right now that is pretty dedicated to make sure that you do get your 20 responses there. So that's the other side of the story. Now, in this phase, you actually get a team of people working for you to find people who are very good at what they do. So it ranges from, I would say very typically it is small, medium enterprises, freelancers that benefit from getting access to a lot of high quality people. We've had a couple of companies who've posted jobs, specifically in the creative front-end programming area. For example, this gaming company has put a job on, and they actually get access to front-end developers that otherwise they would not have had access to. And that's always what we expected, because we spoke to big companies before we launched it. And they do like putting their project teams together, not necessarily based on people they know. So you actually do get that network effect already. We had another very interesting example, which is more fun than anything else, but we put a job on the platform because we needed, Marta needed a cake made for a launch event at MOP, at the co-working space. And I don't know how many responses she got, but in the end she assigned a job to someone, and she made the cake, and that woman actually started talking at home to her husband and said, I've just been awarded this job to bake this cake on Swapsee. Have you ever heard of it? Turns out that her husband is actually programming our mobile app. And so what you see is you do get that network effect even within Barcelona happening within Swapsee. And I think for us it's extremely encouraging that most people who sign up right now either come through our partners or come based on recommendations from friends. No, it was a straightforward cash payment. Yeah, I think it's. I mean, the name is slightly confusing because a lot of people think it's only swapping services. It's really not. I mean, I would say probably 80% to 70% of the transactions are purely cash at the moment. I think the other thing is you've got a marketplace, not just jobs. There's also skills. So if you go to the skills section, there's I don't know how many skill posts already on there, and we actually see people browsing through it and actually discovering skills of people they know that they didn't know those people had. Because people actually put on more than one skill. I mean, someone can be, I don't know, a front-end developer, but is a photographer in his spare time and would like to do that. So you see people putting on more skills. You actually see more elements, more sides of the same person. But you also see people, they actually browse, they just randomly browse and see a skill. That's actually quite interesting. And I actually find it quite fun to just browse through all the skills, but that's kind of what you see at the moment. Does that help?
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay.